Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Munir Bahar, Conversations with a Contractor, live on a Friday afternoon. Typically, our show will air on a Thursday evening. I was traveling last night, so we just moved the schedule forward. Nevertheless, the message will be potent, the discussion will be deep, and the conversation will be everything to elevate our understanding of what is happening in this world, specifically here in America, more specifically, the housing crisis that we are facing, the challenges that we see on so many levels of getting everyone in what is a basic need, a shelter. And again, on so many levels, there are areas that we need to address to figure this out, not only just for us, but also the future. Everyone that knows me knows that my heart is with the children, the future of this country, the future of our nation, the future of our communities, the future of our children. Where are our children going to live? Are our children going to be able to afford to live in the houses that they deserve based on their work ethic? So it's a lot to unpack, but that's why we're having this conversation. I'm going to continue having this conversation, but beyond the conversation, all right, because I hate conversations that just remain conversations. Beyond the conversation, the solution. What are the solutions? That's what we're going to talk about. And beyond the conversation about the solution, I am going to show everybody what it is that I have been doing and what I am continuing to do to address the construction workforce and affordable housing here in America. Now, I welcome anybody to be a part of this conversation. If you have meaningful and constructive dialogue to add to it, no problem. That is great. As long as we're getting somewhere. Again, I hate to just talk about problems, but not discuss the solutions. And then when the solutions are presented, let's talk about what we are doing. Let's talk about the sacrifices that we'll be making. Let's talk about the efforts. Let's talk about the financial input that we'll be embarking on in order to bring the solutions happen. This is the criteria if you're serious about something, if we're serious about really shaping a better future for the country, for our children. So again, Conversations with the Contractor is a platform for us to have a conversation, for us to discuss solutions, but also for us to be a conduit for resources, intellectual and financial, and channeling those resources into what makes sense and what is going to put us forward, what's going to put us ahead of the curve. We can actually get ahead of the curve. We don't just have to play catch up to figuring out the housing crisis. We can get ahead of the curve. Let's think about 20 years from now, right? Especially for some of us who have younger children. Where are our children going to live in 20 years? You know, I need to talk to my producer about that, right? He has a 13-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I need to find out, like, where are your children going to live, right, when it's time for them to get a house? I have a 3-year-old. I have a 5-year-old. I have an 8-year-old. I'm already looking for an apartment for my kids. I'm not even going to lie. It's something being a father of 3 girls, and I'm looking. But because of housing prices, I'm allowing them to stay a few more years in the house. So meanwhile, I think we all need to, on a serious note, right, look at this not as just a problem outside of us, right? I mean, even those of us who may own a house, it's nothing is permanent in this world. Nothing is permanent in this country. I mean, things can flip upside down tomorrow. There are people who are in this country, in the U.S., who were comfortable, and in a moment, after a flood, after a tornado, after, hurricane, their whole lives were upside down, and now they were homeless. It can happen to anybody. So the issue of affordable housing, the construction workforce, and I'll explain, how these are tied together. This is not just something that we can look at as somebody else's problem. This is all of our problem. This is a problem that affects all of us. Now, the problem, again, is never spoken of on my platform without a solution. So when we talk about construction workforce, when we talk about affordable housing, why is the affordable, like this concept of affordable housing, how do we get to this point? Why are we talking about affordable housing? Isn't housing affordable? You know, can everyone afford a house? If not, why? Why can't everyone afford a house? Now I'm gonna tell you, as a contractor, I build houses. I think a house is attainable for most Americans if there's not a process where someone who owns that procedure of building a house gets involved and they're strictly profit driven, they're greedy, and they want the highest maximum amount of profit, leaving pretty much no equity or nothing for the buyer. Now we're going to have a problem, right? They're going to be people who can't afford to foot the bill of some developer's yacht or mansion. And that's what happens, right? Development is only in the hands of a few people. It's not like everybody's out here building their own houses. So when we look at the landscape of housing and we look at the process, who owns the process of developing houses, we're talking about just a few people. If you think something different, let me know. I don't know. Maybe I don't understand it, right? I've only been looking at this for maybe the last 10 years. I've been in construction for about 15 years, but really looking at the availability of housing. My start was in Baltimore City. In Baltimore City, we have thousands on thousands of vacant houses. I had not a novel idea, but hey, look, let's rebuild some of these houses. Let's use these vacant assets to create more livable and usable space. I did that in East Baltimore, Collington Avenue. Built a community center. I built some houses. We took some of the worst conditioned houses. So that was there, right? That platform is there to look at how to create more houses, how to make housing accessible for individuals, for more individuals. It's certainly there, especially when we talk about recycling old assets, right? Now, we're looking at land. We have a project, we're here in Baltimore County, and just like Baltimore County and many other counties, there's a lot of land just sitting, buildable land, developable land that you can develop. And we're now embarking on that mission. Let's take this land and let's build houses because we need more houses. I've read a report, we need, we're about 4 million houses short or something. So we got this land in Randallstown. First thing I did was take the recycled asset that was here. It was a 100-year-old farmhouse. It was a dilapidated asset sitting here, and I recycled that and I built a house, and that house I currently live in. This property is the property that we want to build the other houses on. Now, during the process, and you see, just some of the pictures here, I use my team. I use young people from the community, young adults, to do some of the work when we started the project. All of my construction projects back to 2012 have included young people in the process, right? And not doing the high-skilled technical things, but doing some of the things that don't require a license, like cleaning up, like moving debris, like assisting with the tools, or assisting with material handling, things of that nature. So that's a pathway, or we're creating a pathway. Now, I have to add, it's not just about building houses here on this land. The other piece, the construction workforce. Boy, I don't think there's a nice way to really put this, but when you look across the landscape now of construction workers in America, you'll see one common thing. There are a lot of individuals, I would say the majority of the individuals are not American citizens. The majority of them are not American citizens. Fight me if you want, if you disagree. From small construction sites to large construction sites, the majority of the workers are not American citizens, or they're people who are in the process of getting their citizenship. So what does that say? Where are the American workers? The people who were born here, the people who are already a part of our community, especially the young people. Where are the young workers? We have to look at that. We have to talk about that. We have to massage this conversation. And I know some people may say, look, young folks don't want to work. I say that sometimes, right? And I generalize sometimes. I'm going to be honest. These young folks, they're lazy. They don't want to work. They want to be on the computers. And you know, sometimes that's true, but sometimes it's not true. I'm blessed to have some young people in my fold who want to work. We just started the Build Core program here in Baltimore. And this is a basic carpentry skills training program. We have 11 young men who signed up. These are 11 young people who've signed up to say they want to work, right? Or they want to learn construction. They want to learn. And these are teenagers, 13 through 19. So I'm saying this to emphasize that we need opportunities for young people to learn what construction is all about. And we need opportunities for those young people to apply themselves. So they need exposure to construction sites. We have to train them, and then we have to put them on the construction site. We have to give them the exposure. We have to let them smell it, taste it, breathe it. And I think if more young people had that opportunity, then we would see more young people getting into the field. There's definitely money involved. I don't think any of us would argue to say that young people don't want to make money. They want to make money. Some want to make it easy. Some want to be TikTok dancers or, YouTube influencers. But there's some kids who want to work with their hands. There's some kids who want to use tools, who want to learn how to use those tools. Those are the children that we're trying to reach, and we're trying to reach them early, right, in high school, 13 to 19. So our Build Core program, we're focusing on training that age group. We're targeting the young folks in high school. We want to get them while they're young. We want to put tools in their hands in a safe environment, and we want to teach them that construction is actually an industry of pride, an industry of honor, an industry that can satisfy so many social needs and internal desires and satisfaction. You feel good that you've done something. You feel good that you've built something. You feel good that you've worked hard. You feel good that you've sweated. You feel good that you're just not sitting around and you're actually participating. I think there are young people who want to embody these feelings. So we created Build Core. So put those two together. We have Build Core, our training program for young teenagers, teaching them carpentry basics, teaching them how to use tools. And then we bought land. We want to build houses with this land. We want to build houses on time. We want to build houses under budget. And we want to build houses with more efficient systems than what we see currently. We put those two together, and I think we have a recipe for a very powerful transition for our young people over the next 2 decades to really embrace the idea that the infrastructure of housing in America is actually our responsibility. Converting young people into the new construction workforce that will take the raw materials, their raw intellect, their desires to want to be involved, create a process where they can be trained, and then create the investment opportunities where then they can get the exposure and actually be a part of the process of building new houses. Those houses will get sold. There will be a small profit. This is a sustainable model. This is a sustainable, transformative effort that really checks so many things on the checklist. We can create houses that are more affordable, and we can do it in a way that the workforce is paid good for their work. And we can do it in a way that work provides exposure to young people so that the pipeline for their workforce is started in high school, if not earlier, right? So there are so many levels to what we can do There's so many avenues, there's so many ways that so many people can benefit. All from a simple idea of taking some land and building some houses and using some kids to help. Now, yes, we're not going to get the kids to charge the HVAC system with refrigerant, okay? Or we're not going to have the kids on the 2-story roof laying shingles. No, we're going to have the professionals. We have the team to do the skilled work, and we pay the skilled labor fair, right, for their work. Look, one thing about me and all my projects, everybody gets paid well. Everybody gets paid good. You won't complain about money on my project, right? So the skilled workers will get paid, but there's a lot of things that young people can do to assist the skilled workers. Helpers, right? Everybody starts out as a helper in construction. Well, our kids will be the helpers. And I'm saying kids, but I'm not talking about, small toddlers. Like, we're talking 13 to 19-year-olds. Like, they can lift, they can push, they can hold, they can move things, they can endure the rigor of construction. And then they turn into the young adults, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, that are now full force in the construction workforce. Okay? Maybe we baby kids too much. Why don't we have 13, 14-year-olds moving lumber and bags of concrete or sand, or moving materials here, and the 17, 18, 19-year-olds, the ones a little stronger that can do the heavy stuff, moving wheelbarrows of concrete or construction blocks or heavy pieces of timber. Like, there's so much room for young folks to get in and work out and be a part of the process. So this is what we're doing. This is our solution. And it's always been my solution, right? The work that I did in the city, I had young people working. There are things that they can do that can be a part of the process. All of my projects, I've found a way to put some money in some young people's pockets by giving them a place on the job site where they can feel important, where they can feel useful versus just hanging out on the streets. And that's what we did in East Baltimore. And that's what we're continuing to do here in Randallstown at our property out here in Baltimore County. And it's a lot we have to do to prepare for it. And we're going through those steps, engaging a civil engineer. We have to raise a ton of money. BuildCorps is officially a nonprofit organization. We actually just filed for our articles of organizations. We are filing for our 501c3 the following week, so that we can be an official tax-exempt organization, and we're going to raise money to fund the program. We are talking with banks to raise money for the construction process. We're going through all the steps to make this vision possible. This is what I'm doing. And I'm not backing down from this. This is something that I know that can happen. It will happen under God's will, and I'm just excited to be a part of the solution to what's happening in this country. I'm excited to take young people and put them in a position where they can become a productive, contributing member of a larger kind of crisis, this housing crisis that we have here in the country. And I'm also excited that we can prove ourselves in a sense that we can build better. I know we can. I'm sorry. A lot of these houses that are being built now, they're crappy. Fight me if you want. They're crappy. Horrible. Rehab jobs, crappy. New house jobs, crappy. Not all of them, but too many of them. Too many people are getting into an investment and then realizing it was a bad investment because they realized the construction quality was horrible. We can build better. And it doesn't cost extra to build better. It doesn't cost money. You know what it costs? It costs more time and attention. It costs care. It costs compassion, right? Every person on the job is compassionate about not only the end product, but also the end user, the person that has to occupy that house later. There's just so many there's so many levels to this, and it's so much room for improvement. And I'm excited to be on that train. So the conversation will continue. The movement will continue. Right now, you can visit my website, buildwithcore.com. That has our construction company information on there. It has the BuildCore information on there. We're working on the website for the nonprofit, a standalone website. That'll be up in a few weeks so that people can really get the full scope of what we're doing. You know, this thing is happening in real time. This is happening in response to what's happening in the larger market, real estate market in the world. This is what we know we have to do. I mean, there's a million articles on what's going on in the market. There's a million articles stating opinions. I like to see the things that are actually happening. Like, I just came from Delaware also this week to look at an organization. They are also a nonprofit called Little Living out of Delaware, and they are building small houses for people who can't afford or are boxed out of affordability of the current houses in that area. And this is Georgetown, Delaware, where I traveled to. And it was just such a pleasure to be in a space of people who are using the construction industry as a tool to solve social problems. So they bought a piece of property, I believe an acre or more, or they have an acre and they're getting some adjacent property, and they're going to build this small village of these affordable housing. They're working on a larger project, I believe 25 acres, where they want to build 200 houses. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know how we can partner, but some type of way we can. But it was just good to be in the company of people who are, again, using construction as a tool to solve social problems. And that's what we're doing here with BuildCore. That's what I'm doing here in Baltimore County. We're using the tool of construction to solve social problems. We got too many social problems. We got a whole lot of politicians. We have a whole lot of preachers. We got a whole lot of community leaders. We got a whole lot of nonprofits. I don't see enough action. I don't see enough permanent solutions eradicating the problems that we all like to talk about and get on our pulpit and discuss. Like, we want to see problems eradicated. We don't need problems to become our persistent means of pleasing people. You know, giving lyrical candy to the ear and raising money only for the problems to be perpetual. And in 5 years, we're dealing with the same thing. In 10 years and 15 years, the same problem exists. Something is wrong. We need problems that we need solutions that eradicate the problems that we're talking about. And I believe this is one. Conversations with the Contractor, Munir Bahar. Please stay involved. I will be giving more information of how you can get involved as this thing unfolds. We're seeking more involvement from people as this program expands. My message not only is to the adults, but it's also to the young people. I'm going to consistently give a message to the young people to hopefully inspire them to get into the field of construction. You don't have to do it for your whole life, but just taste it. Just get a piece of it and see what that does for you in your young years, and understand that this is an honorable industry. I love being in construction. So I'm going to continue having this conversation. I'm going to continue inspiring and continuing to move people in a way that I believe really solves problems in this country. And I hope that you can join in with this movement and with this cause. This is Munir Bahar. Let's have a conversation.